Thank you, Dr. Tim. I think I got behind or ahead on the Course in Miracles. I was thinking that today is 39.
It is.
Oh, okay.
It is, and we did that.
When I came in, you were talking about 37.
Yes, because Ellen had a specific question about one of the lines in 37, so we backed up and addressed that for her.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
All right, have a great show.
Thank you. Talk to you later. So welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. And today is Monday, February the 8th, 2021. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that puts you in the queue to talk to us. And we'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. We'll give Michael just a minute to get dialed in, and I'll invite everybody to go to the website, whyagain.org, and there's several things that have been added in the last couple of days under the worksheets to print. So if you click the bullseye or the start here, and then scroll down, there is some more information added under the symptoms of healing. And then if you're Spanish speaking and you click on the Spanish page, there's like 3 new workshops added there. And if you go under healing and in Michael's words, there's several meditations, but if you click on the word meditation under that subtitle, then you will find the meditation that he did on the 4th, so that was on Thursday. And then there's also meditations that he's done at other times. So you can click there, and I've separated those out, and you can listen to those, download them onto your phone or whatever, so you can listen to them at your convenience. And if there's anything else that you've run across that you would like to be added, just like we had Scott Cleves actually had asked that we put something out there about the apology tool. So that's out there under the tools now as well. So there's several new things, so please go to the website and click around, look around, test things out. I've corrected a lot of the links that were not working on our external links page. So sometimes, if I have a link set to someone else's website and then they change their website or change their name or whatever, then it breaks that link. So if you ever run into anything like that, please drop me a line at Jeanie, Jeanie, at whyagain.org, and let me know about it. Let me know if there's any URLs that aren't working or if there's some other worksheet that we do that I don't have out there. I know we do have a few worksheets that we use specifically in teachers training and laws of living, and so you will not find those out there. However, just play around on the website, and if you find something or you'd like to find something and you can't, drop me a line and just ask. And in the meantime then, if there's something up for you or if there's a conversation you would like to have, we're here Monday through Friday. Dr. Tim's from noon Eastern time until 1, and then we're from 1 to 2. So we're here for you to answer your questions or talk about whatever it is you would like to talk about. And so to do that, you dial in the number, you're just listening, but if you press 1 on your phone, then it puts up a little hand and I know you want to talk or ask a question. If for some reason, and I know it happens sometimes, people say, I pressed 1, nothing happened, you never answered me. Every now and then, I don't know why, there's a glitch and it doesn't show up. So if you've got my cell phone number, you can drop me a text and say, hey, my hand's up, and I'll get you clicked on as soon as the other person quits talking. And we are here for you. So welcome, Michael. I was just telling people about a bunch of new stuff that's been added to the website and inviting them to go out and check it out.
Sweet.
Take it away.
Hey, thank you, dear heart, and welcome, everybody. Honored and delighted that you're here once again to be part of this conversation. And we're here to support the healing, literally the healing of every mind, heart, and being on the planet. And I was actually just on the phone with someone who's in the middle of a major healing process and quite sure that the world is to blame. And that old idea that somebody else is the cause of what's happening inside of me is one that sooner or later every one of us need to handle and realize that the only thing that happens to us is what we do to ourselves and what we call in through what we hold within ourselves. And so we're in a conversation in the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again?, with a character named Richard, and we're on the chapter on emotions, a guidance system. And so I'd like to just continue reading the last page or two. We're on page 25 of Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And we're talking to Richard about the fact that we're offering a whole new way of thinking and that it takes the development of a new mind to even start to comprehend it. And you might remember that old saying that says you can't do new math with an old math mind. And that's so true. And we're looking to wake up to, and the key thought that comes up in the book now is, when we respond, we make a conscious choice. When we react, we are unconsciously driven by our past. Responsibility is the ability to respond rather than react. So I go on and explain to Richard, once you recognize your emotions are generated by your internal mechanism, you have the key to power over those feelings, and you can take responsibility for them. It is then possible to respond rather than just react to life's triggers. When you're willing and committed to being responsible, you can change the output of your mind, and that action will change your reality. The way you feel will no longer be dependent on any person, place, thing, event, or circumstance. So when people play the game that everything outside of them is the cause of what's happening inside of them, and they're introduced to the idea that they're responsible, a great deal of confusion takes place because the old mind can't even comprehend that, doesn't even know what to do with that. Of course, it's somebody else's fault. And what we're looking to do is shift that energy. So emotions, are a warning system that tells us of the qualities of energy that are moving in us. When you're willing to and committed to being responsible, and there's the key to it all. It says, that sounds great. What's the catch? Richard, there is no catch, I replied, but there are ideas you have to change. For example, you will have to be able to see and deal with your hidden pain. You see, Richard, someone can only bring up a painful reality if it's already in your mind. It has to be there first. You can't pretend that all is well and continue to deny and hide from your issues, but the fact that someone can trigger anger in you is a sure sign that something's hidden. Removing realities from the mind is the original meaning of the word forgive. In this work, when a negative reality is triggered, it is an opportunity to learn true forgiveness. When pain surfaces, if you are honest and in touch with yourself, you will own the upset and seize the opportunity to release that internal reality, to forgive. Pain functions to inform us of our errors. False forgiveness is based on the belief that others are responsible for what we feel, and therefore it tends to reinforce that error. To forgive others in this manner for what happens in your mind leaves your pain intact, and the opportunity to heal is lost. And of course, I put the words to forgive others in quotes because you can't forgive others. Forget about forgiving others. Never, ever think about forgiving anybody ever again. And people often say, oh, that's right, Michael, I have to forgive myself, right? No, never, ever, ever think about forgiving yourself for anything. Forgiveness is not the act of letting yourself or another off the hook for some behavior that's been done. That's pardoning, nice thing to do, but if you choose to pardon someone, then make sure you go to the next step of forgiveness, which means going inside of yourself and removing the root of what it is that you're experiencing. Making use of every opportunity to heal is an important decision you can make, and that decision will immeasurably accelerate your process. Richard didn't seem convinced. Thanks, but I'll pass, he said sarcastically. If I have a painful reality hiding somewhere in my mind, I just as soon leave it there. Thank you very much. Key thought. The purpose of life, when we refuse to listen to our pain, our warning signal, is to kick us in the limitation. The more we resist listening, the harder life kicks us. And so that's the end of that chapter. And, on tomorrow we'll step into the next chapter on the purpose of pain. And so we're honored and delighted that you're here to be with us in stepping into this amazing process of forgiveness, in moving through everything that is based in any form of hostility or fear, and getting ready to do the next layer of your work. It's an awesome blessing to have the tools, and I certainly appreciate the support that comes from having this community to interact with and to move through the layers and the level of that which we carry within us. So welcome to the show. Honored and delighted that you're here. And Miss Jeannie, do we have anybody in the phone queue with a hand up, or anybody in the chat room with a thought for us? And Jeannie is probably playing with Aria. She's probably got her attention divided between Aria Rain. We've got her today, fortunately. Her dad's through and family's through with their fortunately late round of COVID. And so there goes the house phone. So, hey, lots going on here. Go ahead, Jeannie.
She's created a cave underneath one of the chairs, and she decided she was going to eat her gravy under there, and she came out and she had it all over her. So it was like, Nene, clean. So I had to wipe her off there. Anyway, there's no hand up and no comment in the chat room, so all quiet on this end.
Quiet
hand just went up, and it's actually
Great.
a Skype caller. Hi there. Who we got?
You got Judy Thielen.
Well, hey there, young lady. Welcome. Good to hear your voice. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I just moved. Yeah, I just moved from over around where I was living when my mother was before she passed. I went over to support her, and then in her final days, and then I moved over here to shut down the storage unit that I've had since 2000.
When you say over here is?
It's over in let's see, is it north of Douglas County? Yeah. It's about an hour from Heartland, hour and 15 minutes. Yeah.
Right.
So Julie and Patrick's sister is going to help me shut it down whenever we get around to it. But I was just planning to stay here for like maybe 2 to 3 months to get this done, because I'm really slow at doing things sometimes. So taking my time and doing it right. Stuff has to go to the kids, and, stuff has to be moved out from the past. Because I've been holding there with a lot of energy I could be using for something else.
You're taking care of yourself in the meantime, I hope?
Pardon?
You're taking care of yourself in the meantime, I hope?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing really good. As a matter of fact, it was a really good move to get out of the apartment complex that I was in, because I had a lot of boundaries that was being crossed, and there was nothing I could do about it. And except do my worksheets.
There you go. Do your work.
And so, yes. And so when I moved over here, the little lady next door, they put me in an area that it's a low-income complex, and we have young people and older people here, and there are drugs. However, I have one of those Alpine air cleaners, and it helps a lot with clearing out anything that comes from the building next to mine, the apartment next to mine. But the lady's a smoker, and she knows I don't smoke and that I do not want to smoke, but she still continues to do what she wants to do, even though she signed a contract, and is not honoring it, not to smoke in this building. And I thought, I've been here a month now, and I thought that I could just do my worksheets on it and go over and have a little talk with her. And I've already visited with her a little bit, but to go over and visit specifically for this reason. But I don't know if he was listening to the radio show previous to yours, but one lady brought up a subject about confrontation, and it was like she was helping me do a worksheet while she was talking about what she went through to process through dealing with the snow that was put on her property, and when she needed that space for her own snow. And I thought, this is the same situation that I'm in here. And so I thought, well, I've done worksheets on it, and I've been doing a lot of praying about it to understand the situation here. And the Holy Spirit has counseled me the whole time I've been here for this month, just to be real slow and real careful and pay attention to what's going on around me.
Right.
And to not jump in and just decide, well, I'm going to change this, and this, And so, well, it's escalated to drugs. And so last night it was all night long. I had to keep opening the doors and keep running the Alpine machine and trying to move the stuff out of here. And so now it's like, well, Judy, I'm glad you did not go over there and confront the woman. Because I went on the internet to get some clarification on what I was smelling. And the thing one of the counsels that they gave was, do not confront them.
Yeah, it can get crazy.
So glad. Yeah, I was so glad I had listened to the Spirit there. So now I'm in the process of, okay, what's the next move? I don't have a choice. This is not a healthy environment for me, and I should not be in it. I should choose to be somewhere else. And so it's like, well, I just got moved, and I haven't even gotten everything unpacked. And it's like, well, I'm going to have to move again. So the next step is to talk to the owner of the property and ask him if he has another apartment. And I really don't want to get in the middle of everything that's going on here because I know it's dangerous. And so I need to do worksheets around dangerous. And I've done it around fear and frustration and anger. And I've also looked at it from the point of view of how have I been living like this? Have I been crossing boundaries or being disrespectful for other people's space or what they need in their life? And I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that this lady has moved in, or I've moved into her life for a little while. And she's really encouraging me to get this stuff done.
Well, we'll hold the space that you keep breathing. And remember that the connectedness and the source of the love is inside of you, and you stay connected. That's what will keep you safest.
Yes, I totally agree. That the power of that pure love of God is so powerful that it can change the molecular makeup of everything around me. And I hope that one day I'll get to that point where I can do it really quick. Really fast.
Well, I join you and support you in being fully connected.
Well, thank you. And I just wanted to ask you if there is anything that you can feel or see about this that you might share with me.
You know, the main thought that comes is stay connected. You know where your source is. Yeah. And remember that whatever's going on out there is not your source, and that your source is within you, and stay connected with it.
Okay. And I want to thank you and Jeannie for your radio show and for sharing. I know I spent like 7 years on the healing retreat just to learn what little bit I have, the levels that I've gotten at, and still continuing to do it, still continuing my worksheet and holding a space of love. And I got angry, really angry for the first time, and I cannot tell you how long last night over what was going on. And I did my worksheets on it and moved it out. But it was so intense that I could feel how it was harming my body.
Good catch. So what was the trigger for that level of anger? What was the goal involved in that?
The goal was I needed clean air to breathe, and what was coming into my apartment was harmful.
Uh-huh. So was that the beginning and the end of it, or did it reach into any other dynamics or issues? You know, I can easily see how something like that could be a Hydra-type worksheet, and once you cleared out that first goal, I could see how it might be, the desire to be respected, to be supported, to be taken care of, and all of those would probably be good worksheets to do and move through if any of those ring true.
Yeah, I'm feeling that one of them specifically is ringing true. And after that happened, I was looking at the goals that I had set, the different goals around this situation. And I remember you saying that you have to, the goals are the key. You want to release those.
That's definitely the key.
Yeah. And so in working around the goals, I was able to see a much huger picture on this. And there was a lot of things that I wanted that I had to let go of.
And as you let go of them, were you able to touch into the root pain that you were using anger to cover? Remember, anger is always a drug. It's always an anesthetic. So if I'm angry, there's something under the surface that I'm pained about. Were you able to touch into what that was?
I think it all goes back. I think that I got a good handle on it. It all goes back to my brothers and sisters invading my bedroom and going through my stuff and in my space. And
so about people violating your space then?
Yeah. Yeah, people violating my space. And it wasn't, that's the bottom line right there. That's the bottom line.
Been carrying that one for a long time, haven't you?
I know it. I know.
Time to be done with it.
I know. Well, this is it's getting closer, and it's taken a lot of work to get there, but I'm headed in that direction, Michael.
Good. Good work. That's awesome.
I just wish that I had to set a new goal, that I had the courage to confront people like this. However, in this situation, confrontation would not work.
Yeah, it sounds like you need a lot more than just the willingness to do that. There's more to it, and wisdom might be the better part of that conversation, just having the wisdom to let loose of it. You know, when you've got people who are living on that level, and who knows what somebody's willing to do, so probably better to stay within yourself and stay connected and move forward.
Yeah. So I especially wanted to thank the young lady that came on to the radio show earlier. She really helped me to work through that. She did a worksheet for me right there on the show.
Awesome.
It was beautiful. And then
we're all in this
like,
together.
I know. I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all and appreciate your work and your example and your enthusiasm and your confidence to continue and to grow and progress as you're helping everybody else. Thank you.
All right. Honored and delighted. And, the objective is every mind, heart, and being on the planet, so we're going for it.
Yeah, I'm part of it, too. I'm doing what I can.
Sweet.
Talk
awesome.
to y'all later.
Okay. Love and
Thank
blessings. Good to hear your voice. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All righty. Bye-bye. All right. Well, Miss Jeannie, do we have anything happening in the chat room? Everybody in the phone queue with a hand up?
No to both of those. I did get an email from a lady, and I'm going to respond to her email. However, if we can address part of it, maybe I can get her to listen to the archive of today's show.
Sure.
I'll try to make a synopsis of it. She's in a relationship, and she actually referred to him as her ex, but he broke her foot. And
Ouch.
She had to have surgery, and so right now she can't walk, and he is the only person she's got to take care of her while she mends. You got some crackling on your end. She said that he on a regular basis slanders her and mocks her and like kind of brainwashes her and everything, but she's like stuck. And that she feels like he tries to do that to get a negative reaction from her because he feeds off of that negative reaction. And said as soon as she can get to a place where she can walk, she's out of there. She realizes that she got into the situation being codependent, that she wanted to help him. And now she feels like she's getting bitter and losing herself.
Well, my offering would be that you really want to free yourself of that bitterness. Now, here's what I'll say, seeing as how we haven't got a personal conversation going, I can't actually ask you the question. But if I were to ask, how does it look like your life to feel this kind of bitterness? Is this a bitterness that you've known prior to this event? And I could just about guarantee that your answer to that is yes. It's probably something you've been through more than once. And so here's your opportunity to look at the thoughts in yourself, the thought disorders with which you cause yourself bitterness, and free yourself of the bitterness. And the reason why life keeps coming back to us and creating, presenting those circumstances is literally as creators. When we let's say I hold a potential for bitterness. And my bitterness is about whatever it is, ABC. I'm literally, by holding that energy in my mind, sending out a measurable high energy wave, which will pull somebody in to do the behavior that ties in with my bitterness. And so, there's literally a measurable high energy wave. I like to call it the psychic megaphone or the creative wave that sends out a measurable energy field that says, hey, world, I need somebody that can do this for me so that I can pretend my bitterness is about that. And, of course, set up that call, and the promise of the Creator is ask and you receive. Somebody will show up that will resonate that for you. And when they resonate it for you, again, one of two things will happen. You'll either go, you make me so bitter, what's wrong with you? Or you'll go, oh, here's my bitterness again. I think I would like to forgive bitterness in me. And when I can own that that bitterness is mine, then I can ask to be shown the thought disorders in my mind that reflect as bitterness, and I can step into, literally, the removal of the bitterness. So that would be my my support for you on that count. And let yourself move through those layers.
And if she can deal with that part inside of her, then there's going to be a different reaction from him, because if she's not offering that feedback, then he doesn't have anything to go on there, and he'll go somewhere else or whatever, but she can be in a space where she's at peace.
Precisely. Unless there's something inside that inhibits peace. And there's my next forgiveness opportunity, remembering that forgiveness is the tool with which you remove from your mind what never belonged there. Bitterness, hatred, fear, anger, rage, guilt, grief, drama, trauma, weakness, helplessness, none of that belonged in our energy systems to start with. And
she does.
Go ahead.
She does mention that she has the vibe of creating bullies in her life, that's a repeat pattern, and it's a deep-rooted anger from childhood trauma.
So you might go back and do some forgiveness work around the early bullies in your life, probably your power persons. And as you confront and process through those energetic patterns, the high energy wave in you that calls forward bullies will tend to collapse. And when it collapses, bullies will look at you and go, no resonance there, no reason to go over there, because there's no energy for them. You know, we live in this world where we tend to create, unless we're really conscious and functioning as love, we tend to create relationships out of our matching bags of garbage. And when we do that, we pull people in who have the corollary to what it is that we have. So if I have fear of bullies, my fear of bullies, literally that energy moving in me sets up a high energy wave that goes something like this. Hey, is there anybody in Dodge that knows how to bully me just like this? And guess what? If there's a bully just like that in the area, they're going to show up. When they show up, they'll do the behavior that they do, the bullying, whatever it is, however that falls out. And when they do that, it will resonate in me, the hurt, the pain, the trauma that I have around being bullied. Now, the tendency will be for me to say, see, you bully, how much you hurt me. And that just perpetuates the cycle, because now I'm in the blame game. I'm in denial. So in this work, our definition of denial is when I think or speak as though something outside of me is the cause of what's moving inside of me, then I'm in that denial, and in that state, I dissociate from the very energetic pattern that I need to heal. So when the bully shows up and does their thing, and they're in their bully rage, whatever it is, and I'm in my pain, what I want to do is cancel my need to be treated respectfully by this bully. Now, most people say, well, Michael, that's absolutely ridiculous. Why would I cancel? That's a perfectly good goal, to cancel my need for this bully to treat me respectfully. Well, when you told me that, the bully shows up and I don't, let's say in this example, feel respected, what you told me is in your file on being respected, there's pain and trauma. And so when I cancel my need to be respected, what happens is my projected perceptual construct of blame collapses. And when it collapses, I get to touch into the root of that pain. And when I can bring the root of that pain forward in the presence of active love, that's when that pain begins to disappear. And so, how many times might I need to forgive? Well, first of all, remember that you're not forgiving them. No interest whatsoever in forgiving anybody or yourself. Forgive in Aramaic means shabag. It means to cancel. You look at the goal that's driving your pain's perception and you cancel it. When you cancel the goal, when you remove the driver that resonates your pain's perception, then your pain's perception collapses. That construct in your mind begins to collapse. When you get conscious as love in the face of what's collapsing, then you can bring that underlying energy to the presence of love and change the whole game. So that's what we hear. That's the core of first century Aramaic forgiveness. You know, as I say, I'm quite cognizant of the fact that it's absolutely ridiculous to cancel my need to be treated lovingly. But if I'm in pain when I'm not treated lovingly, that says there's something in my mind, in this file, so to speak, on being treated lovingly. And I need to clean that out. And so forgiveness is the clean out tool. Forgiveness is about removal. So that's what we're here to understand and support and make sense of. And of course, once you cancel the goal, that's the first step at the core of the forgiveness process. You identify the goal that you held, you cancel that goal, and then you recognize perhaps that you're dealing with a power person dynamic, and a power person dynamic probably took place 1,000 times. I'm probably not going to process through that in the next instant. But when I step into willingness and I realize once I've canceled the goal and collapsed my perception based on that goal, that there's a power in me that in Aramaic was called Ruka Dekudsha, quite literally a feminine elemental force that undoes the effects of your errors. So wherever you're feeling the pain, somebody might say, oh, I've got such a headache and my neck is stiff and my right foot is hurting like crazy right now, my stomach's sore. So they're the places that the energy is stored that you need to process through. Now, you've got to be willing to confront that. You've got to be willing to leave that open to ever clean it out. Most people stay in the game of denial, and every time something comes up, they puke on and rage at somebody else and pretend that they have nothing to do with what's happening in their lives. But you'll notice it's not long before those things come back to bite you in the butt. And so the idea is to continue with that forgiveness process, that removal of all hostility or fear until you're quite literally finished with it. And I know it seems like a backward process. I can tell you how many years I worked with that in order to be able to explain to you what I just did, in order to understand why you do, according to the Aramaic Yeshua from 2,000 years ago, why you do such a silly and ridiculous thing as cancel a perfectly good goal. Here's why. Your goal is a driver for your perception. If your perception is pain, you need to collapse it. When you collapse it, you get to access the root of it. When you bring the root of pain perception forward in the presence of active love, whatever it is that you're pained about begins to dissolve and disappear. That's the core of the process. So glad you're here to be lending your listening ears to hear how that works and what it's about. And if you want a more complete explanation, you can go to our website, whyagain.org. And over on the right-hand side are all the social media links. On the list is our YouTube channel. Click on the YouTube icon. That'll take you to our YouTube channel. And look down the list, there are a couple hundred videos there. Look for the one named PowerPoint. The first word in the title is PowerPoint. And that will walk you through the mechanics, literally, of over 35 years of work with first century Aramaic forgiveness in order to understand this core piece of it. So just jump on whyagain.org, go to the YouTube channel, and look for each and every one of those videos. The PowerPoint's the one that explains the core of the forgiveness process, the core of why you cancel the goal and what happens. And so, Ms. Jeannie, it looks like we've got about, 17 or 18 minutes left. Anybody out there with a hand up in the field? 22. Okay, cool.
Yeah. No, there's no hands up and no questions in the chat room. Something else that I just thought of. Why would someone, and I know it happens a lot, I mean, I've actually done it myself, but explain why someone would become codependent with someone who is abusive. Well, my offering would be that if one has a reality structure that, it might be guilt. If I feel guilty
And that guilt may be long gone from conscious awareness. With that energy, if I'm into that guilt state, then quite often, one of the pieces of research we did in the prisons is we asked people, when they'd done something, quote unquote, bad or wrong, did they feel better when they were punished? And most people in prison said yes. And so if one feels like they deserve to be punished, then the psychic megaphone, the high energy wave that goes out from their mind will be, hey, is there anybody out there who knows how to punish me? And what tends to happen is we tend to draw people in with, as I say, the matching bag of garbage, the corollary to what we hold. And so in interaction with them, we give them the opportunity to forgive what they need to deal with, as they give us the opportunity to forgive what we need to deal with. And in doing that, you end up with a marriage made in heaven, moving through the garbage. If you're, by the way, on one of those stations, if you have a question for us or a thought, and you're on one of those stations where we can't see you in our control panel, our call-in number, most people listen to the show just by phoning in, is 563-999-3581. It's 563-999-3581. If you dial that number, you'll be listening to the show. And then if you have a question, one of the voices you might hear is our littlest co-host, Judy, you hear in the background right now. And if you have a question, all you do is push once. That'll raise a hand at the control panel. Well, hey there, sweetheart. How are you? What are you doing, dear heart?
She's singing 999999.
Oh, did you hear me mention the phone number? What's the number? 563. What's the number? Are you 999-3581. That's it. You got it, girl. Are you enjoying your dollhouse?
I love it.
She says she loves it.
You love it, do you? That's great. Well, we're glad you do. I had fun playing with you this morning with it. We just got her a new dollhouse and built it a couple of days ago, and she's just having a blast with it. Actually, we didn't just get it for her. We got it for her and Nini, because Nini has always wanted a dollhouse and never had one, so now she's got one.
That's right.
Sweet. So if you're out there and listening and you have a thought for us, call our number, say hello. If you're on the line and you have a thought, a question, push 1 and let's have a conversation.
It is all quiet on this home front. We just had a hand go up. Yay! So area code 610, I think that's Miss Susan.
It is. Howdy, folks.
Hey, welcome, young lady. Good to hear your voice.
Good to hear yours. I've been listening to the Jeannie. I love it that you send out the links for the week. Even though I have the whole list, it's somehow daunting, and I look at it, and the dates are confusing, and I'm confused, and all this stuff. So I've been knocking them off, not in any particular order. So to have you sending them, knowing that this is the assignment for the week, and they're so rich. There's a kind of listening that we can do when we're not on Zoom, having to be on. It's just, I can just listen in a new way, and there's a lot of juicy stuff in them. Yep, it's good. So,
well, that's one of the big things I appreciate about having this Zoom, and the fact that people have permanent access to, well, from this first intensive 58 hours of process work and teaching. It's awesome that they can go back and listen.
It's true, and they'll bear listening again. And I've had a fantasy, and I'm not offering to do it. It's too big, but I'm thinking there are, and it's not too bad actually, but there are moments that are sort of, can you hear me now? And no, press mute and do this. Those things could be taken out, and just the whole things could be cleaned up at some point. That's not that important, but when a person looks at something and sees that it's 2.5 hours long, they might think, oh my God, and I don't listen all at once. I'll listen to a half an hour or 45 minutes, and then I'll have something else to do, and I'll put the number down so I can just jack it right up to there again and go from there, or from a good starting point. So that's been fine. Anyway, I had a question, and Tim and I just came back from having COVID shot number 2. So we're so far so good. It's impossible to know. Yeah, well, I hope it's good. We're going with that recommendation, and that's what we're doing. And
sure,
I hope the herd immunity will be achieved somehow. So, and I know some people have immune systems that can't handle it, or compromises and they can't do it, or they have ideologies and they're not going to do it. But I'm just hoping enough of us can safely do it that we can safeten our whole society without putting too much pressure on the people who are not going to do it. That isn't why I'm calling, but it's just a thought. It's beautifully arranged up here. The hospital in Allentown has been set up with all these workers and volunteers, and you see these lines of codgers like us, because it's the oldies who are getting them first.
Right.
And they're also, it's like a love fest. Everybody's so kind to each other. It's quite beautiful to see.
Nice.
So, and you don't expect it, but the nurses are there and they ask you the questions, but it seems as if they're really interested. And my God, they've been doing this day after day after day. It's impressive.
With all the craziness going on in the society, it's good to hear that caring is strengthening as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You'll see an old guy with his even older wife, or vice versa, one in a wheelchair, and they're tottering down the hall, and nurses coming in and saying, "Are you okay? Let me help you up." And it's just a lot of love going on in there.
Nice.
So the lesson for today in the Course in Miracles is, my holiness is my salvation. And I understand that the word holiness could be WHOLE, wholeness. Still, the word has not meant much. And then Dr. Tim actually amended the final sentence of one of the commentaries. The commentary ended with, "What is the opposite of guilt?" Well, we automatically say to ourselves, well, it's holiness. But actually, in common vernacular, it's innocence. The opposite of guilt is innocence. My innocence is my salvation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using that, hoping I'm not slipping by some essential markers that I'm skipping. But my innocence is my salvation. If I see myself as innocent, I'll have to see other people as innocent, and then the whole forgiveness deal has been achieved. And then, of course, I run into the look, or whatever the thing that's going on is. You mentioned having to do worksheets on your disgust, Michael. I appreciated that so much, over the ads and how they pair a happy, smiling, bouncy couple running along the beach with all the side effects that are going to kill you or get you close to it, God forbid, and how you have to do worksheets on disgust. Well, there are certain things that are just, I could do worksheets all day on some issues, just all day. So, right. I've been doing a lot of worksheets on, well, I could say it's the ads, but it isn't. But it's a similar thorn in the side issue that's not going to go away soon. Exteriorly, my attitude may go away, but how do you handle that little frisson of suddenly getting that little rush of, those dumbbells are,
With with your inner sense.
Mhm. Yes.
With your connection to love.
Mhm.
I did what for me was a major breathing session on Saturday morning. And as I'm getting into deeper levels of the still point process, I'm literally guided to ask. And the request I was guided to ask was, open all the pathways for your love to move in me. Asking that of the Creator. And as I breathed into that, what came to awareness was, and someone had asked this question in a text to me, it just fits right in here. What came to awareness was one of the ways that I shut down that presence of love is by clenching my jaw.
Whoa.
And as I did that, as I became aware of that, the thought that came was, those things that are set in bone, time or grand willingness to heal.
Mm.
And then came, well, what does it mean, set in bone? And the instruction was, the next time you clench your jaw, notice what you're thinking, because that's being set in bone.
Wow.
And literally, what came forward for me next was, as I thought about my own quote-unquote reasons for clenching my jaw and looking back at some of my own pain and suffering, to begin to let that loose. And then it was, so now, are you willing to handle everything set in bone from all of your generations, Michael?
Whoa.
And from there, I started to think about my father, who was very liberal with a belt or a slap in the head or a degrading comment. Let myself tap into his youth and his childhood in a rough town, in a rough neighborhood. I went to thinking about how many times my mother would have clenched her jaw. She had several older brothers who were not the nicest people in the world. I remembered one time when she told me how she was so terrified. She never did tell me what the terrified was about, but how she withdrew and literally found herself huddled in a ball up in the corner of the room watching what was happening in the room. And thinking about all the times that she might have clenched her jaw.
Wow.
Was I willing to handle all of that energy for her and my father? And then my father's mother came to mind, and my father's mother was a pretty angry lady that lived with us when we were small. My last memory of her, I was probably 4 or 5, when she decided in her rage and anger that she was moving back to Scotland. And so I started to contemplate how many times would she have clenched her jaw, and I didn't know my grandfather, her husband, didn't know much about him, but started to just contemplate for her to be so angry, what kind of life did they live together, how many times as a young woman with children, and I think she had 8 children, would she have clenched her jaw, and how many times would he have done that? Then I moved over to my mother's mother and started to think about the trauma that she lived in. She had diabetes and neuropathy They took off her toes on one foot, her toes on the other foot. They took off the front half of her left foot, then the front half of her right foot. They took off up to her left ankle, then they took off up to her right ankle. And by the time she died, up to her knees. She had a husband who was an alcoholic, a lot of trauma. How many times had she clenched her jaw? She was one of my favorite people in the world. I loved to spend time with her. But how many times before I knew her as a child had she clenched her jaw? Then I went to her husband, who, again, I didn't know. He had passed, my grandfather, before I came into the world. And what kind of world did he live in? Knowing his family, the traumas of uncles and aunts. Whew.
Yikes.
And then I said, so now what's going to happen when I go back? What's been set in bone in my jaw from just those lives? And once again, I was asked the question, are you willing to process all of that energy? And I said, yes, I'm willing to do that. Wow. And then it was like I went into an absolute abyss.
Oh, my God.
And what started to move, what started to flow was the countless lives, you know, and I kind of went through specific ones. Of course, people I had no idea who they were, but just what happened in wars that they were engaged in, what happened. You know, I one of the things that came to mind was the reading that Magda had done from dealing with her grandfather's conversation with her and his rage and pain. And as I kept affirming, yes, I'm willing to process it all, it was like such a massive, monumental cry of suffering that needed to be held in love in order to quite literally process through that which had been set in bone by the holding of the jaw of countless people in my generations. And then I went to thinking about, and now we've got 7.5 billion people in the world. And I think I can process just my generations, a feeling of being so small. A feeling of being so small and impotent to be able to handle all of that energy. And that's where I stepped into, okay, Ruka, I need help. I can't do this. I can't do this on my own. But I know it can be done. So breathe. What is it that really needs to be dealt with? How many generations in each of us are crying out to have that energy embraced in love and be released? What work is there to do in the world? And I clicked into Yeshua and thinking about Yeshua saying, yes, I will take on the suffering of the world. I will become the space. I will become the reed that is opened to let the power of the active presence of the Creator's love flow through me. Yes, that's it. That every channel for the presence of God's love open to flow through me. And I'd offer, you know, we have this simple little word that we use that we call salvation. And it's nothing to do with what the theologies told us was salvation. It was about literally processing through everything that had been set in bone in each one of us. And that's the work. That's the work. That's salvation. Are you willing to go there? And recognize that your reliance will be on allowing, quite literally, everything that never belonged within your field to open and be processed through you. And that's why every shuttered jaw in my bloodline has to be opened. And the pathways of the power of that active presence of love have to be open to flow through me to clean it out. If I won't open that, I'm going to be lost in it. That's the real work that needs to be done. So are you willing to open and embrace all that's been locked in bone? Every shuttered jaw in your bloodline. And allow the pathways of love to open literally through every sinew of your being.